The sky was on fire. All over Earth, people looked up and saw the end coming. Cities were burning, clouds were thick with smoke, and the stars above were blocked by massive alien warships. The Drekar had arrived. No warnings, no messages, just an invasion. The aliens were huge, terrifying, armored like tanks and shaped like nightmares. They landed without mercy. Their ships rained fire. Entire cities vanished in seconds. Humanity's weapons barely scratched their hulls. Satellites went dark. Communication failed. Panic spread like wildfire. The Drekar broadcast a single message through the last working channels. You are weak. You are ours. It felt like Earth would fall. But deep beneath the ruined lands of Yellowstone, in a hidden underground laboratory surrounded by ash and silence, something ancient stirred. Dr. Elijah Cross, a biotechnologist once laughed at by the scientific elite, stood at the center of a quiet room. The walls shook as distant explosions rocked the surface. The monitors above her showed burning forests and shattered cities. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from hope. For decades, she had worked in secret on a project the world had dismissed as madness. It was called Project Wildmind, and today it was ready. In the center of the lab, behind thick glass, sat a lion, calm, watching, waiting. Sensors covered its head. Wires ran from its spine to a console. Ilya pressed a button. The machines hummed. Light danced across the screens. A soft tone rang out, and then the lion's eyes met hers. "I hear you," it said. The words didn't come from its mouth, but from the neural link, the result of decades of gene coding, brain interface trials, and human-animal resonance mapping. Elia fell to her knees. Tears ran down her face. It had worked. The silence that had lasted since the first human walked the earth was broken. She could speak to the wild, but there was no time for celebration. The Drekar had landed in North America. Their ships were closing in. They would reach the lab in hours, maybe minutes. She sent out the signal. It was short, urgent, impossible to ignore. Project Wildmind is active. The Earth speaks. All allies respond. Across the world, hidden transmitters lit up. Elephants in the savannah raised their heads. Dolphins under the waves turned their sonar toward the surface. Wolves paused mid-hunt and howled into the sky. Birds changed direction in flight. Bees swarmed into patterns. And deep in the Arctic snow, a lone polar bear raised its paw and stared into the stars. The message reached them all. In the heart of Yellowstone, the lion let out a roar, not a sound of fear, but of purpose. It was the roar of a planet rising, of instincts sharpened by nature, of creatures ready to defend the home they had always shared with humankind. Elia stood and looked out at the animal, no longer a beast, a partner, a soldier, an ally. "Are you ready?" she asked. The lion growled, "We are." And just like that, humanity was no longer alone. The world was changing faster than anyone could imagine. After the secret signal went out, a strange but powerful bond formed between humans and animals everywhere. Soldiers on the front lines were no longer fighting alone. Animals were fighting beside them. In the forests, wolves guided groups of survivors through hidden trails, warning them of danger before human eyes could see it. Hawks soared above battlefields, scouting enemy positions and warning soldiers of incoming attacks with sharp cries. Elephants, strong and steady, carried supplies and helped clear debris, moving through ruined cities like unstoppable giants. The oceans echoed with the songs of dolphins and whales that led human submarines through treacherous waters and attacked enemy vessels with coordinated strikes. It was not control or domination. This was a true partnership. Humans had found a way to talk to animals, to understand their thoughts and feelings, and to ask for help. It was a language born from science and nature working together. Commander J.L. Rourke was one of the first to lead this new kind of war. A hardened soldier with years of experience fighting in space colonies, he had seen humanity at its weakest and strongest. Now he stood on the battlefield with a look of fierce determination. Around him were not just humans but animals wearing armor, trained to fight alongside the troops. A silverback gorilla smashed enemy drones with its massive fists while a pair of hawks darted through the smoke, picking off alien snipers. A cheetah ran through the rubble carrying vital messages faster than any human runner could. For Jael, this was proof that Earth itself was alive, fighting back through every creature that called it home. He spoke through a communicator to his fleet in orbit, his voice steady and loud. "You wanted war? Then you'll face the soul of our planet." His words carried more weight than any weapon. The animals, with their instincts and strength, were becoming the planet's secret weapon, and the enemy was about to learn just how dangerous that weapon could be. In cities shattered by war, people looked on in awe as wild animals they had only seen in books or zoos moved with purpose and courage. Lions patrolled streets alongside armed squads watching for hidden threats. Ravens circled high above, dropping small explosive devices on enemy supply lines. Even the tiniest insects played their part. Bees delivered critical information by buzzing patterns no one else could understand, and swarms of ants sabotaged enemy equipment. This was not the Earth they had known before. This was a planet reborn through the unity of all life. The animals had risen not out of anger or fear, but out of loyalty, and a deep connection to the humans who had finally learned their language. The bond between species was unbreakable, and it gave humanity a new hope in the face of overwhelming odds. But the Drekar were fierce and relentless. They still had superior technology and a massive fleet that darkened the skies. Their ships fired devastating weapons from orbit, burning forests and turning cities to rubble in moments. They launched ground troops in armored suits that crushed anything in their path. The humans and animals fought hard, but every day brought new losses. The battle was far from over. Commander Rourke knew that winning this war meant more than just strength. It required courage, cleverness, and trust in the unexpected. Together with Dr. Elia Cross and her team of scientists, he worked to develop new ways to use the bond, with animals as a weapon. They trained dolphins to detect enemy submarines and lions to break through enemy lines. Birds were trained to carry messages and weapons. The animals were not just fighting with humans, they were leading the way. Across the world, resistance movements grew, inspired by the strange alliance. Farmers, city workers, and soldiers put aside their differences and joined the fight with their animal companions. The forests became battlegrounds where humans and animals moved as one, striking with surprise and speed. The oceans became a maze of coordinated attacks led by orcas and sharks, confusing enemy ships. Even the skies were no longer safe for the Drekar, as flocks of birds ambushed their fighters with deadly precision. The power of this connection was becoming clear. The animals were not just helpers, they were the heart of a new kind of war, one that the Drekar had never expected and could not easily defeat. This was a turning point for Earth. What began as a desperate defense was now a fierce resistance, rising from the ashes of destruction. The world was no longer just human. It was a living, breathing force united by a shared language and a common goal, to protect their home at all costs. And the galaxy was watching, stunned and uncertain, as humanity and its wild allies showed a strength no one had predicted. This was only the beginning. The battle had reached a new level. The Drekar, shocked by Earth's unexpected resistance, began to change their tactics. They sent their deadliest warships into orbit, turning the skies into a swirling storm of fire and steel. The once hidden bases on Earth became targets for massive bombardments. Cities that had survived the initial attacks now faced destruction from above. Commander Jael Rourke stood on the command deck of the Valiant, Earth's flagship warship, his eyes fixed on the battlefield below. The communication channels crackled with reports from ground forces and animal units coordinating attacks and defenses in perfect harmony. The animals were everywhere, lions tearing through alien squads, wolves flanking enemy vehicles, giant eagles diving into the metal hulls of enemy fighters. The new bond between human and animal was proving to be more than a military advantage. It was a symbol of hope, but Jael knew this hope was fragile. The Drekar were ruthless and their hunger for conquest seemed endless. Meanwhile, Dr. Elia Cross worked around the clock in her lab, pushing the limits of Project Wildmind. She and her team developed new technology that enhanced the connection between humans and animals, neural implants that let soldiers communicate instantly with their animal partners, sharing thoughts and commands faster than any radio or computer could. They trained elephants to carry armored humans into battle, creating unstoppable units that smashed enemy lines. Dolphins became underwater scouts and saboteurs, striking with deadly precision. Even the smallest creatures, like ants and spiders, were harnessed to sabotage Drakkar equipment, weaving webs and tunnels that confounded alien soldiers. The line between technology and nature blurred as humans learned to use Earth's creatures as both warriors and spies. The animals were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting to reclaim their planet. As the Drakkar tightened their grip, a brutal space battle erupted near Earth's orbit. The Valiant and its fleet faced off against the alien armada in a deadly dance of lasers, missiles, and shield bursts. The Drakkar warships were larger and more heavily armed, but the humans used clever tactics inspired by animal behavior. Fighter pilots moved in tight packs like flocks of birds, confusing enemy sensors. Bombers dove like hawks, striking vulnerable points in the alien hulls. Even the animals helped from below. Massive whales fitted with sonar arrays guided human submarines to attack alien ships through hidden space tunnels. The battle was fierce and chaotic, with both sides taking heavy losses. Commander Rourke barked orders, coordinating attacks with the precision of a conductor leading an orchestra. His voice was calm but fierce, filled with the unshakable belief that they could win. On the ground, resistance fighters faced unimaginable challenges. The Drakkar deployed terrifying machines, giant spider-like walkers that crushed buildings and hunted animals. But humans and animals fought back with courage and unity. A pack of wolves led by a human scout flanked one of the walkers, distracting it while a team of engineers planted explosives on its legs. Lions and bears charged enemy squads, breaking their formations with raw power. Birds dropped tiny bombs on supply convoys while dolphins sabotaged underwater drones. Every victory was hard-won and costly. Friends were lost, cities burned, but the spirit of resistance burned brighter than ever. Elia and Jael knew they had to keep pushing to find a way to break the alien siege before Earth became a graveyard. Amid the chaos, a new threat emerged from within. Some humans, scared and desperate, began to question the alliance with animals. They saw the bond as unnatural or dangerous, even fearing that animals might turn against them. Tensions rose, causing cracks in the unity that had formed. Jael faced difficult choices: how to keep his soldiers focused and loyal while respecting the bond that had saved their lives. Elia worked to calm fears by showing the deep connection humans shared with animals, proving that their strength came from trust and respect, not control. Together, they reminded the world that Earth was a living community where all creatures had a role in survival. The Drakkar, watching these struggles, hoped to exploit the doubt and turn the humans against each other. But humanity's leaders refused to let fear break them. As the third part of the war unfolded, it became clear that this was no ordinary fight. It was a battle for the soul of the planet, a test of whether humans could embrace their wild side and rise stronger. The Drakkar were powerful and advanced, but Earth had something they didn't: a deep connection between species, forged through hardship and hope. The galaxy watched, amazed and wary, as humanity and its animal allies pushed back against the alien invaders. The war was far from over, but Earth had shown it could fight back with a strength that went beyond machines and weapons. It was a strength born from the heart of life itself. The war had reached its darkest hour. The Drakkar were relentless, their forces pressing harder and harder on Earth's defenses. Entire regions were lost, turning to ash and ruin. Cities that had once stood tall were now silent graveyards. The skies roared with enemy fighters, and the seas churned with alien submarines hunting beneath the waves. Commander Jael Rourke stood in the war room aboard the Valiant, staring at the endless stream of reports flashing across the screens. His face was tired, eyes sharp with determination. The animals were still fighting bravely alongside humans, but the enemy's numbers and firepower were overwhelming. It was clear the battle would not be won by strength alone. Something else was needed, a plan that could turn the tide. Dr. Elia Cross knew this too. In her underground lab, she and her team worked feverishly to push Project Wildmind to new limits. They had discovered a rare species of ancient, intelligent birds deep in the Amazon, capable of communicating not just with humans, but also with other animals over great distances. Harnessing this ability, Elia developed a network, a living, breathing web of animal messengers that could carry information faster than any technology. The birds became the eyes and ears of the resistance, alerting scattered groups to enemy movements and helping coordinate attacks with incredible speed. But Elia's true breakthrough was still secret. She had begun experimenting with a neural link powerful enough to unite human minds and animal instincts in one shared consciousness. It was risky, untested, and could cost the user their sanity, but it might be the only way to win. As the Drekar tightened their grip, Jael prepared his forces for a desperate final stand. The humans and animals would face a massive alien invasion, force at the ruins of New York City, the last stronghold on Earth's east coast. Soldiers and animals gathered amid crumbling skyscrapers and shattered streets, their breath visible in the cold air. Lions, wolves, bears, and even trained ravens took their places beside human fighters. Jael walked among them, placing a steady hand on the shoulder of a soldier and whispering, "This is where we fight for everything we love. We don't back down." The animals growled and howled in response, their fierce eyes matching the soldier's resolve. It was a moment of unity, a silent promise that whatever came next, they would face it together. The battle began with a thunderous roar. Drekar war machines stormed the city, crushing everything in their path. Humans fired pulse rifles and grenades, animals charged with claws and teeth. The air filled with the sounds of battle, roars, gunfire, explosions, and the cries of soldiers, and beasts alike. Lions leapt onto alien walkers, ripping through armored plating with savage strength. Wolves darted through rubble, flanking enemy squads and tearing apart their lines. Ravens swooped down, dropping small explosives on supply drops. Dolphins patrolled the flooded subway tunnels, ambushing alien patrols with deadly precision. The fight was brutal and close, each side refusing to give ground. Jael coordinated attacks, moving like a general and a warrior at once, never letting his forces lose hope. In the heat of the battle, Elia stepped forward to try her new neural link. Volunteering herself, she connected to a massive eagle named Talon, a fierce and intelligent creature who had fought beside humans since the beginning. As their minds merged, Elia felt a rush of power, seeing through Talon's eyes, sensing his emotions, and sharing thoughts faster than words. It was overwhelming, almost too much to handle, but the connection let her guide the eagle and the animals around her with perfect timing. Talon soared above the battlefield, sending precise signals to ground units, warning of ambushes, and guiding strikes that shattered enemy ranks. Elia's mind raced with the shared knowledge of animals everywhere, feeling the pain and hope of Earth itself. It was a connection no alien could understand, a bond that gave humanity an edge. But the neural link came with a cost. After hours in the shared mind, Elia began to lose her sense of self. Memories blurred, voices mixed, and the line between human and animal began to fade. Jael saw her faltering and ordered a retreat to save her, but Elia refused. She knew this power was their last hope. The battle raged on, turning New York into a battlefield of legends, where humans and animals fought side by side against impossible odds. In that fight, the true spirit of Earth shone brightest, the will to survive, the courage to unite, and the strength to protect home. The Drekar would soon learn that the power to speak with animals was more than a tool. It was a force that could change the fate of the galaxy forever. The final battle loomed like a dark storm on the horizon. The Drekar, sensing their grip weakening, unleashed their full might in a desperate attempt to crush Earth once and for all. Massive fleets swarmed the skies, and their ground forces pushed relentlessly toward the last human stronghold. Commander Jael Rourke knew this fight would decide the fate of humanity and all the animals who had stood by their side. The war had transformed Earth into a battlefield where every living creature fought with fierce determination. The alliance between humans and animals was no longer just a strategy. It had become the heart of their resistance. As Jael prepared, his soldiers and animal warriors for what he called the last stand, he felt a quiet hope beneath the weight of fear. This battle would test their limits and define the future of their planet. Dr. Elia Cross, still connected to the powerful, neural link had grown stronger but also more fragile. The shared consciousness with the animals gave her access to incredible insight and speed, but it wore on her mind. She felt the thoughts of thousands of creatures, fear, courage, pain, and hope, all swirling together. In this state, she became a bridge between species, guiding coordinated strikes and helping the humans anticipate enemy moves. Yet the toll on her body was visible. Her face showed exhaustion, and her voice was softer, but no less determined. Elia understood that the neural link could not be sustained forever. It was their secret weapon, but also a deadly risk. She accepted this burden because she believed in what they fought for, the survival of Earth's life in all its forms. The battle erupted with a thunderous fury. Drekar warships darkened the skies, launching missiles that tore through the clouds and struck with devastating power. Below, massive alien machines rolled across the terrain, crushing buildings and uprooting forests. But humans and animals fought back with everything they had. Wolves led swift attacks, breaking through enemy lines and confusing alien forces. Bears defended key positions, holding ground against overwhelming odds. Eagles and hawks dived from the sky, targeting enemy artillery and scouts. Dolphins patrolled the waters, ambushing enemy submarines and disrupting supply routes. Each moment was filled with violence and courage, with soldiers risking everything to protect their home. Jael's voice was steady in the chaos, rallying, his troops weaving tactics inspired by animal behavior into a deadly dance against the invaders. In the thick of the fight, Elia's neural link guided a massive coordinated strike. Humans and animals moved as one, wolves and soldiers flanking. From the sides, lions charging head-on, birds signaling precise targets, and underwater units attacking enemy supply lines. The alien forces were pushed back for the first time in months. The battlefield seemed alive with the power of unity, a force no technology could match. Yet victory came at a high cost. Many brave warriors, both human and animal, fell. Cities lay in ruins and the ground was soaked with sacrifice. Jael moved through the battlefield, tending to the wounded and encouraging the fighters. His heart ached for the losses, but burned with pride at the courage displayed. He knew the fight was not just for survival, but for the right to be free. As the battle reached its climax, the Drekar deployed their secret weapon, a colossal war machine designed to crush resistance in a single strike. It moved like a titan, impervious to ordinary attacks, tearing through defenses with ease. Jael ordered a daring plan. Elia would use the neural link to synchronize all animal forces for a final, massive assault. With her mind connected to the countless creatures, Elia directed an attack that combined speed, strength, and precision. Eagles blinded sensors, wolves and lions tore through weak points, and dolphins sabotaged the war machine's underwater systems. The battle was brutal and close, but the tide turned. The alien titan faltered, then collapsed in a storm of fire and debris. The victory was hard-won, and as silence fell over the battlefield, the cost was clear. The war had changed Earth and its people forever. Humans and animals had forged a bond that no enemy could break, a bond that became their greatest strength. Commander Jael Rourke and Dr. Elia Cross stood together amidst the ruins, knowing the fight was over, but the journey ahead was just beginning. The galaxy had watched in awe and fear as humanity unlocked a power beyond technology, an ancient wild force that promised to reshape the future. Earth had survived not by weapons alone, but by embracing the life around it. This was their victory and the beginning of a new era where humans and animals stood united, stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever came next. The war had finally ended, but the cost weighed heavy on everyone. The skies above Earth were clear for the first time in months, and the smoke that had choked the air slowly faded. The battlefields were quiet now, littered with the scars of conflict, broken machines, shattered buildings, and fallen warriors, both human and animal. Commander J.L. Rourke stood on a hill overlooking what was once a thriving city, now a symbol of sacrifice and hope. Beside him, Dr. Elia Cross rested, her body weaker, but her spirit unbroken. The neural link had saved them, but it had also taken a toll on her mind and body. Yet she smiled faintly, knowing that their struggle had not been in vain. Together, they had unlocked a power no one had expected, a power that had changed the galaxy's view of humanity forever. News of Earth's victory spread quickly, reaching the far corners of the galaxy. Alien empires, once arrogant and dismissive of humans, now watched with a mixture of fear and respect. The stories told of humans speaking with animals, commanding creatures with a bond deeper than technology or weapons. This connection gave humans a strength unlike any other species had seen, a force that combined intelligence, instinct, and emotion. The galaxy understood that Earth was no longer a simple planet to conquer or ignore. It was a place where nature and humanity had become one, where every living thing fought as a family. This revelation shifted alliances and power balances across star systems, changing the course of galactic history. Back on Earth, the survivors began the slow work of rebuilding. The bond between humans and animals had grown even stronger, not just on the battlefield but in everyday life. Cities were designed with nature in mind, and animals took on new roles as protectors, messengers, and companions. Children learned to communicate with animals from a young age, and scientists continued to explore the mysteries of the neural link. Elia's work became the foundation for a new era of cooperation, where technology and nature blended to create a better future. Despite the pain and loss, hope flourished. Earth was healing, and its people were more united than ever. JL often thought about the sacrifices made during the war. Friends lost, animals that had fought bravely, and the countless lives forever changed by the conflict. But he also saw the strength that had come from those sacrifices, the courage to stand against impossible odds, and the willingness to fight not just for survival, but for something greater. He believed humanity's true power was not in weapons or ships, but in the heart that beat within every person and every creature. That heart had given Earth a new voice, a voice that would echo across the stars. As the sun set over the rebuilt horizon, Jael and Elia stood together, watching a group of children playing with a pack of wolves nearby. The animals moved freely, trusted and loved, their howls mixing with the laughter of the young. It was a reminder of how far they had come, from a planet on the brink of destruction to one filled with life and promise. The galaxy would never forget what had happened here, how humans had unlocked a power that bridged worlds, united species, and reshaped the fate of countless lives. Earth was no longer just a home. It was a symbol of hope, strength, and the endless possibilities of unity. In this new age, humanity stood ready. The challenges ahead would be many, but they faced them with the lessons learned from their greatest trial. Together with their animal allies, they were prepared to protect their world and explore the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians of life itself. The story of their struggle was a beacon, a message that true power comes from connection, compassion, and the courage to rise when all seems lost. And so, with the galaxy watching, Earth stepped forward into a future shaped by the unbreakable bond between humans and the wild, stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever adventures awaited beyond the stars.